Today, as we celebrate Father's Day, it's important for us to remember the fathers of the church, fathers who go about their normal duties, trying to make a living for themselves, supporting families, surviving in Ghana's chaotic economic condition, trying to make life meaningful for their children and for their families. And I know that it takes a lot to bear your responsibility as a father under the circumstances that we live in. And I want to congratulate all of you for that. God is a father. And he's not only a father, he's also a mother. The fatherhood of God is very interesting because God combines both the functions of a mother and a father in himself. He nurtures, he sustains, he protects, he encourages. He does everything that parents do for his children. And today I would want us to turn our Bibles to Psalm 68. Psalm 68, and we would read from verse number 4. Sing to God, sing praises to his name. Extol him who rides on the clouds. By his name, Yah. And rejoice before him. A father of the fatherless, a defender of widows, is God in his holy habitation. God sets the solitary in families. He brings out those who are bound into prosperity, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land. God is Father, Abba, Daddy, Eja, Papa, or whatever you would call a father. That word in the Hebrew means something which originates, or one who originates. God is the source of all things. So he's the father, he's the originator. Number two, fathers are also sustainers. And when we talk about God as a father, he first originates, he's the source. Number two, he is the sustainer. Number three, he is the provider. Number four, he is the protector. And that also should be our understanding of fatherhood here on earth. Because every father is taking his authority from God. One, as the source. Two, as the sustainer. Three, as the provider. And number four, as the protector. Every male has three major roles they will play in their lives. Every male. Every male. The first role is the role of a son. The second role is a brother. The third role is father. And every male, in spite of all his other relationships as cousin, nephew, boss, supervisor, whatever, is a son, is a brother in some cases, And I use brother in a wider sense of being a cousin and a nephew and whatever. And thirdly, he is a father. Of these three, the first and the last are probably the most crucial. The role of a son and the role of a father. Nobody is born with all the knowledge they need to function in these roles. You are born biologically as a son, but sometimes, although you are biologically a son, you may not behave well as a son. And that's why the Bible prescribes some punishment for sons who behave wrongly. The Bible actually says that vultures will eat your eyes, or eagles will eat your eyes if you disgrace your parents. Every male who is born is going to learn to function as a son. And as a son, your main duties as a boy is to learn from your parents. That's your main responsibility. You learn from them. And also to demand from them, to depend on them. You're learning and you're depending. And so for sonship, it's a time for learning from your parents. And that's why it's important that children are raised up in regular families, because we normally reproduce what we have learned. And if the family teaches wrong, the children will learn wrong. And all of us as sons learned. We learn by asking questions. Very interesting to see a son asking questions. They ask good questions, bad questions, comfortable questions, uncomfortable questions, embarrassing questions. And if you are a father or a mother, you might have answered some very, very uncomfortable questions, which your children will ask of you. The reason why children ask questions is because when you are at the role of a son, you are learning. And the primary means by which we learn is to ask questions. We need to inquire. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, asking questions is not very easily tolerated. When a child asks too many questions, we assume that either he has witchcraft, or he is an old ancestor who has been born, or probably he is too known. And so we protect and prevent our children from asking questions. The reason we do that is that we also were not allowed to ask questions. So we don't have the capacity naturally to allow our children to ask questions, because we are only reproducing what our parents gave us. And so across the generations, the African child is almost always a very quiet, timid person. Almost always. And if he's a boy, he's a quiet, timid person, not asking questions. But a son's number one job is to ask questions, to inquire, to learn. Is to find out and to know. Is to receive support, sustenance, provision, protection from their parents. It will be ideal for every father to become a good model to his son. That's the ideal situation. But my personal experience, and I think the experience of many of us in this part of the world, is that most of us were not modeled by our fathers. Although we are men, we were most of the time raised by our mothers. Because the African father most of the time specializes in having many wives and many women and producing many children and walking away. Irresponsibility has become a cultural norm. As a matter of fact, our culture supports and sustains it. That's why we encourage men to marry many. One wife staying with him, the other staying somewhere else, another staying somewhere else, and there is a schedule of visitation that the father develops for him to visit all his various wives once every while. Most of the time when he visits the wife, he is so busy and so anxious to meet his wife that he has no thought of the children. And so the children only know a distant father whom they don't relate to. And even in families where the parents are living together, much of the activities are traditionally relegated to that of the woman. And so men grow up raised by women. And I believe one of the major causes of Africa's problem is that the men have not become men. The men have not become men and have not gone out to do for the society what men must do. Because men have been raised as females, and there is nothing wrong with females. Women are good, but it is bad for a man to be like a woman. And it is also bad for a woman to be like a man. Both male and female have contributions to make to society, to children. We play different roles. But when a child is growing, especially for a boy, he needs a father there who does not pamper him and who does not also overly punish him. But he needs a father who will challenge him. Mothers find it difficult to challenge their children because they are very sympathetic. And when the child goes out to fight and he's beating, the mother most likely would say, sit down, don't go out again. But if there is a father, he will teach him how to defend himself out there in the world. Because in this world, you will find people who will fight you. When you are young, they will fight you physically. When you are grown up, they will fight you emotionally and fight you in other battles. Fights are there all the time. And you need somebody to encourage you to go out there to face the fights of your life and to overcome the fights of your life. And for the man, it is the father who must do that. Most of us grow up observing a father who is weak. He may be physically strong, but emotionally and socially weak. Because the strength of the man is not in his muscles. Women are these days becoming as muscular as men. So the strength of a man is not muscular. It's more emotional strength. What is the strength of the man? To be able to go out into the world, to provide a living from your family, and to make sure that your family is well secured. That is the traditional role of a man. Even if your wife is working, it's your number one role as a man to make provision for the family. And to make provision for the family, you are going to fight battles. Because the world is not kind towards you. The world will challenge you. You will get challenges on the job. You get challenges wherever you go. You get people who want to pull you down. But a man must learn to rise above all those obstacles. Because if you are pulled down, it's not only you who is being pulled down, your whole family is going down with you. Some of us grew up and saw fathers who would leave insufficient money on the drawer for the mother to take care of the family. And when the mother will ask or query, the father will say, that's all I have. Yes, that may be all you have. And that may be the truth, because everybody is limited. But in spite of the fact that that is all you have, there must be an attitude in your communication that does not say, that's all I have, take it or leave it. But that says, that's all I have. You hold on for the meantime, I will go and work harder and get something more for you. That should be the attitude of the father. But because we saw fathers who checked their responsibilities and shifted their responsibilities to our mothers, most of us men have grown up releasing and relinquishing our responsibility to our wives and to women. A father is the source, he is the producer, but he doesn't only produce, he also sustains what he produces. If you are man enough to produce a child, you must be man enough to take care of the child. If you are man enough to produce a child, you must be man enough to protect the child. You must be man enough to give your child the best. And for all of us men who have got sons, let us be careful how we raise our sons. Let us raise sons who can be fathers. Let us not raise sons who will be boys when they are married, but sons who will be fathers when they are married. Sons who can stand chest out for their families. When I was growing up, my father did not leave me a good example to follow. If I had followed my father's example, I would be a very irresponsible father. Because as talented as my father was, and he was a highly talented person, I think a lot of my natural skills, I got it from him. Highly talented, highly imaginative. My father can come up with 1,000 ideas in 1 minute. I mean, he can sit you here and give you 1,000 new ideas, and I got that from him. I'm able to come up with ideas. But that's as far as he will go. He stops and he refuses to be concerned with reality. And so when I was growing up, that's the father I had. I liked my father for many reasons. One, because my father was not a harsh person. He was enjoying life too much to be harsh. He didn't have time to beat us. I remember he beat me only once or twice, and that was a good one. But my father really didn't beat us. And he didn't really bother about beating. That was good. So I grew up not afraid in life. The second thing I liked about my father was that he didn't bother how many questions you ask him. He never got offended. My father never gets offended. You can ask him questions. I remember as a child, I could argue with him and debate with him, and he would take it easy. Whereas for some of my friends, when they saw their father coming from work, if even they were going to score a goal, they have to stop and run home. I didn't have that fear. My father was never a terror. And I remember many times I would sit with him and talk with him, and we would argue, and he would come from work and talk about things, politics, and I would ask questions and I would argue. I mean, I could speak my mind freely. And as a result of that, I was never afraid as a child to speak my mind. And I'm still not afraid to speak my mind. That's a good thing I learned from my father. When I was in school, I was never afraid to speak my mind. When somebody must speak up, you can always trust I will speak up. Very quiet, very polite, but I will speak up my mind. When people, for example, when we were in school, people would stay in the dormitory and people would be talking against the housemaster and saying things. And when we go for meeting, everybody is quiet. but I will talk. I will just raise up my hands and speak my mind very nicely. I remember when I started working, the place I used to work, the boss, everybody was afraid of him. And this guy could intimidate everybody in the office. If you use a phone, he'll come and scream on you to stop using the phone. Every senior officers were afraid of him. And I remember one day I was talking on the phone and my boss came and he just, hey, Otabil, you can't do that. Spoke me. I mean, really blasted me and disgraced me. And I put the phone down. So the next time we had a staff meeting, when everybody was quiet, I said, I have something to say. I said, sir, I don't like the way you talked to me the other time. Now, everybody was afraid for me because you don't talk that way to that man. But I spoke my mind. I was not angry. Didn't insult him, but I spoke what I believed. And can you know what happened? After that, he became my best friend. But where did I get that from? I got it from my father. In spite of his weaknesses, he had that. And I believe that every one of us must be that kind of a father who inspires confidence in our children so that they learn to speak their minds when they are young. Especially the African son must not become a timid person. When he becomes timid, there are two reactions that he's going to produce. He's either going to be very rude when he has to speak his mind, or he'll never speak his mind. And that's how most of us, anytime we have to speak our mind, we have to be nasty. We have to insult somebody. You have to be rude. You have to tell it bad. Because you were never allowed to soberly express your thoughts and express your mind. I trust that we in our generation will not be intimidated by the inquisitive enquiries of our children, but will allow them to speak their mind. That's the good thing about my father. The bad thing is, in spite of all that strength, when it comes to providing for his children, he couldn't do it. Not because he was not gifted, but I think more because he really didn't allow himself to be worried by his responsibilities. And that's something I decided to turn away from. But you know, it's very easy to decide not to be worried by your responsibility. Many of us learn it very young. Very, very young. We fail to be worried by our responsibilities. And you see a lot of young boys. You go to schools, go to the universities. It really amazes me. The girls always have money to cook. And the boys always have stomachs to eat. And the boys will go to the girls' dormitories to eat. And never ask the question, where did you get the money to prepare this food? And somehow, some of us take it into marriage. When you come home and your wife has prepared food, you never ask the question, where did you get the money to prepare this food? When you knew that you haven't provided. That is refusing to be worried by your responsibility. You refuse to think about it. When your kids wear new trousers, you refuse to think about it to find out, where did they get that? Who sold it for them? Who gave them the money? Who gave my wife the money? We refuse to be worried. And a lot of African men refuse to be worried by their responsibilities. In my own home, I saw my mother do tremendous things. My mother was one of those enterprising women. Do things, make things out of nothing. One moment you come, there's furniture. Next time there are cushions in the furniture. Next time there's a fridge. Next time there's a gramophone. Next time there's something. Always trying to, and my father never asked, oh, where did the gramophone come from? Or where did this one come from? Where did the wardrobe come from? He just comes, oh, that's nice. And he just refused to be worried. That is a lot of us men. And some of you husbands have begun manifesting some of these attitudes in your marriages. You refuse to be worried by your responsibilities. When you come and there is food on the table, you don't care where it came from, so far as it can go into your stomach. Our responsibilities as fathers is to model for our children the kind of fathers they are supposed to be. They must be responsible fathers. They must take care of their responsibilities, and they don't have to become terrors in their homes. The fact that you are a father does not mean you are a terror. You talk down on your children. They never have time to talk to you, never have time to chat with you, never have time to pick your brains to know what you are thinking about. Always shouting on them. That is not fatherhood. That is dictatorship. For us fathers who have daughters also, although we are not talking about women today, may I also suggest to you that if you are a father, that you become very, very, very emotionally close to your daughters. Because if you don't, they will seek it somewhere else. You may protect your children by locking them in the room. But I have seen women who were locked, girls who were locked in the room getting pregnant. And the father didn't know which mouse went under the door to get them pregnant. Because when a girl is starved of emotional affection, she will seek it wherever she can find it. From rascally boys, predatory teachers, she will seek it everywhere. The teacher begins to teach her maths and show a little concern in her life and ask questions and try to make her feel secure and comfortable. All of a sudden, affections are changing. The young boy there begins to sweet talk her because you never sweet talk your children. Tell her she's beautiful and you've never told your daughter she's beautiful. Tell her her hairstyle is nice and you've never told your daughter your hairstyle is nice. Very soon, her emotions begin to go to that young boy. And remember, most men have the gift of talking. Most men. It is the way God himself equipped us in order to get wives. It's our gift. Women have got the gift of hearing. Men have got the gift of talking. We say very little, but it's deep. Very little. And a man can come up with beautiful phrases that will make a woman's eyes dilate. Oh yeah. Some actually study them in books. Words in books. Their ears never get tired. There is something that when a man speaks to a woman affects her more than when a woman speaks it. There. If you are a woman, no matter how well your female friends praise you, maybe you dress well, and every female says, "Oh, I like your shoe, I like your bag." But if a man says, "I like your shoe," it's a different configuration altogether. It's a different thing altogether. And that's the thing the fathers must learn to speak to their daughters. Words are powerful things. I know most of us have good intentions, but we never speak them. I know most of us see our girls and our daughters and we want to say something, but we never say them. Because somehow, speaking our emotions has not been encouraged in our society. We only speak when we are chasing a girl. Yeah, I use the word chase to bring that meaning to you strong. Because that's what most men do. They chase. They are hunters. When you want a woman, you write all the nice words. You quote Shakespeare. You quote Chinua Achebe. You quote Wole Soyinka. You quote poetry. Your eyes are like the dews of heaven. My love for you is like the ocean which never dries. When I see you, I see the rainbow. For in you are the colors of the world. The men know how to say that. But the moment we marry, the raps finishes. Then we become silent communicator. Okay. Oh yeah. And yet when we are pursuing, the raps come very fast. But after we have caught the deer, we don't talk. We just skin the deer. Just roast it nicely and in silence. So men, let us learn to speak as fathers. Every father must learn that. As your children grow up from sons into teenagers to adults, they become very difficult to communicate with. Because at that time, they are no longer learning from you. They are learning by themselves. And if communication has not been developed from childhood, that is the time when communication is lost. You never talk. And you know, there are a lot of us who never talk to our parents, our true feelings. We only say what we know will make them happy, but not what we are really going through. Because when you grow up, you don't need to learn anything from your parents much. As a matter of fact, as you grow into your teen years and into your early 20s, you think your father and your mother are the dumbest people alive. They don't know anything. They don't understand anything. They are old-fashioned. They dress old. Their hairstyle is old. Even now, some of my kids think that I'm getting out of touch. It's true. Sometimes they dress and I say, oh, comb your hair this way. They, oh, daddy, this one. You know. Or I buy, sometimes you really go out of your way, you buy something, a nice shoe for your daughter, and you know she just says, thank you, daddy, because she wants to please you, but you are out of touch. When you take your kids out for shopping, you'll be shocked what they choose. These days they are wearing long shoes. They're wearing different things. You may try to bring them low, but they want to go high. At that time, they are not learning from you. Your taste is not their taste. Your desire is not their desire. They want to learn for themselves. They want to know for themselves. And that is when most parents disconnect from their children. In the teen years, a lot of us fathers become so frustrated with our children, we give up on them. Because they become troublesome. They seek their own way. They seek their own choices. They don't take your advice any longer. But do you know that it's God who arranged it to be so? Did you know that? You yourself were like that. Why should a child in the teen years no longer be referring to the mother or the father, but wants to make his or her own decisions? Because very soon that child is going to be a parent. And when they become a parent, they can't go and say, I'm going to ask my mommy. They have to make decisions on the spur of the moment. When that daughter of yours has a child, and the child is running a fever, For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother. It didn't say a woman. A man shall leave his father. That means that the man must leave first. By the time the man is marrying, he should have already left his father and mother and be joined to his wife, who may be with the father and mother, and the two shall be one flesh. But the boy, teenager, must be independent very, very early. If you keep them at home, they become mama's boys. They can't decide. They can't do anything on their own. You are washing for them. You are cooking for them. They have to go out to the world and cook for themselves, burn their rice, and learn to appreciate burnt rice. Get up in the morning and see there's no food, and find out whether they will pray for food or they will do something real about it. Let them pile up their socks and underwear till it creates a mountain, and let them go second round wearing it all over again. And then people start saying, they will learn to start washing. But if mama is doing it, mama does it all the time. And mamas love their sons. They will cook for their sons. The son is 29. Mama still wants to cook. Mama still wants to wash. Mama still wants to comfort you. You come and complain, the world is hard. Mama says, oh, come, my boy. Come, my boy. That's why the son must leave very early to become a good father. Very early. By 25 years, every man should have left his father and mother's house. That's late. I'm saying that because of Ghana's peculiar economic crisis. Otherwise, you should have left far earlier. But because of Ghana, by 25, every man should have left his father and mother's house. You say, Pastor, where should we go? I don't have anywhere to go. Yes, that's what being a man is all about. You are like Abraham. You leave your father's house not knowing where you are going. You dwell in tents. Sometimes three of you, get three of your friends, come together, contribute some money, rent a house somewhere, maybe at some deep ghetto somewhere, and start life from there. Start killing your bear and your lion. Start conquering your problems. Start solving problems. And start emerging from there to the top. Because if life is already made for you, you may not appreciate the struggle it takes to produce what you have. It's our desire as parents in our family that our children should be very independent very early. Very early. They must learn it. They must learn what choices are all about. If he gets up in the morning and decides he won't go to work, he's free not to go to work. But he's also free to receive a letter of dismissal. It's freedom. Free not to go, free to receive. Freely you have given, freely you will receive. He's free not to work. He's also free to be hungry. You say, what if he gets into bad company? No, if you train the child the way he should go, then when he's grown, the Bible said, he will not depart from it. How come you think he will get into bad company? What have you been training him for 18 years to be like? And for you young men who are still staying with mama and papa, it's time to move. The young men of this church, you have to move. I know it's going to be tough. I think what your parents can do probably is to rent a place for you the first time. For maybe pay advance for 1 or 2 years for you. And after that, you're on your own. Because for the rest of your life, you're going to be on your own. You have to learn it early. You have to learn it very, very early. And let me tell you, it's not easy. I probably was forced by circumstances to be on my own. But I got on my own very, very early in life. Very, very early. Before I was 20 years old, I was taking care of my younger brother in secondary school. Before I was 20, I was attending Parent Teachers Association in secondary school. Before I was 20, I was looking for admission for my younger brother, paying his fees from Form 1. Before I was 20, I was doing that. Paying water bill, light bill, rent, and trying to solve my own problems. It's not easy, but that's how you learn in life. I have lived under all kinds of conditions, but I had to mature. Maybe circumstances forced me, but it helped me. Because if I had stayed with, if my parents had been alive, probably I would still have left very early. Because I don't think our home had enough space for all of us to be there. But if I had stayed, it wouldn't have helped me. Certain steps I had to take early in life. I had to take them. Some of us, we start taking the steps we must take early in life when we are grown. That's why most men, by the time they are married, that is the first time they are taking responsibility. Most men. The day they marry, that's the first time. You should have done that long ago. You start early. Suffer the sufferings. So by the time you marry, you are strong to be a father to your children. May I please suggest to all the young men in this church who are from 22, between 19 and 22 men. Let me see your hands. 19 and 22. Okay. Where do you live? Someone say, Pastor, I'll die. I'll die. Pastor says, I'll die. Oh, you won't die, my brother. You'll be alive. Abraham survived, I survived, and you will survive too. It will be tough. But you will be tough because you toughen your muscles. Because one day you will bring a human being into this world. Another human being will come into this world because of you. And that human being will depend on you for the first 12 or so years, or the first 18 years, for most of the things that human being has. If you don't learn to take care of yourself early, how can you take care of that human being? A lot of men are marrying who are not ready to marry. We are biologically ready to marry, physiologically ready to marry, but emotionally unprepared for the challenges of marriage and fatherhood. And if you don't start early, you become irresponsible because you will be overwhelmed by your own challenges and that of your family, that you would find comfort in abandoning the worry of your responsibility. You will just act as if everything is okay and let your children suffer. Today, as we celebrate Father's Day, may the fathers of our future be better than the fathers of our past. May the fathers of the future build a better situation, condition for their children. May young men rise very early in life. May we, like David, kill our lion and our bear in our youth before we meet our Goliaths in life. May we have experiences we can rejoice in before the major challenges of life confront us. May we be able to solve our own problems before children's problems complicate our own problems, or a wife's problems complicate our own problems. May we be personally responsible before we take up the responsibility of our wives and of our children. God bless you. Let's rise up on our feet. We want to pray briefly for our young men in the church. Our young men in the church. And I think I would quickly ask all the young men in the church to please come forward. All of you who are below the age of 21, between 18 and 21, just come in front here. Young men. Let's clap for our young men. The new generation. The future. Look at how smartly dressed they are. Intelligent young men. Handsome young men. Smart young men. Overcoming young men. Our pride, our heritage. We are proud of you, young men. We are proud of you. We are proud of you. Oh, let's do it well. Let's do it well for them. And listen to me, young men. The world you are living in and the world you are going to live in is a more challenging world than the one your parents lived in. The decisions you have to make are more complex than the decisions your parents had to make. You are confronted with drugs, which your parents were not confronted with. Your parents only had to deal with running away to dance in a nightclub, dance, cha-cha-cha or boogaloo, or something like that. But you are dealing with drugs, cocaine, heroin, marijuana. Those are your challenges. It's a difficult battle. You are dealing with teenage pregnancy, AIDS, catching AIDS, recent problems. Your parents didn't deal with those problems. The economy your parents lived in is better in this country than the one you are living in. Your parents could survive on their salary. You may not be able to on your salary if it's very low. It was easier some time ago. At your age, you probably could have rented a house. But it's tough. When the going gets tough, the tough must get going. I don't want you to be weak children, but strong men, because you are no longer children. You are not daddy's boy. You are not mama's boy. You are getting ready to be your children's father. In 5 years from now, 10 years from now, most of you here will be married. A human being will come into this world because of you. Make sure you don't bring a child to this world you are not ready for. You cannot exercise your manhood by having sex with a girl. Having sex is very easy. Dogs do it, monkeys do it, cockroaches do it. It's very easy. So you don't prove anything if you have sex. It doesn't give you credits. It doesn't give you credentials. It doesn't give you anything. The real challenge is not chasing a girl. The real challenge is protecting your children, fathering your children, and making sure that your children become better than you are. And for that to happen, you must be stable first before you bring an unstable child into your life. Your challenges are great. Education, computer, technology. But you know Jesus Christ, and that's more important. Because with him you can do all things, and with him you can overcome. Today I want to challenge you as my hope, as my future. I want to grow up and look at your generation and be happy that we did a better job than was done on us. I want to look at you and be proud of you. I want to see you 20 years from now, stable, strong man with your family, growing up in the fear of the Lord, growing up in your profession, changing your society and influencing your society. That's why today I called you forward. Don't mess your life up. Don't destroy your life. Don't get on drugs. Don't get on premarital sex. It'll kill you. It will destroy you. There are greater challenges in life than that. And we want to pray for you that you will become a light in your generation. In your day, your generation will be different. You'll be responsible fathers. You will not take girls and break their hearts. You'll not two-time girls. You'll not have a wife at home and a girlfriend somewhere. You'll not be hiding and playing games with your wife. You'll not be cheating your own wife. But you'll be a faithful husband to your wife and a good example to your children. We want you to lift up your hand to God this morning. And we want the whole church to stretch their hands towards you. And let's pray for our future. Amen. We build a wall of fire around this young man. We protect you with our prayers, and by the declarations of our mouth, we declare that it shall be well with your life, and it shall be well with your future. We bind you with the word of God. We bind you with the Holy Spirit. We bind you with holiness and righteousness. And we declare that what we bind on earth is bound in heaven. You are bound into a righteous living. You are bound into a holy living. You are bound into a godly living. You are bound into manliness. You are bound into a good example. You are bound to be a treasure in your generation.